Can everybody hear us? Yes.
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Audience salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Please remove hats. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard cross the colors. Color guard post the colors. Color guard salute. 2.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'd like to introduce Miss Bailey Iverson. She is our returning Star Spangled Banner National Anthem wonderful singer.
Bow with me, please. Father in heaven, from the earliest days you provided as a group of men and women whose purpose was to protect your people and allow for a society in which you would be honored. Father, today we honor those who put themselves in harm's way to protect and defend this country from those who are trying to do us harm. Father, we ask you to place your protection and your comfort on all those who serve in our military branches. We ask that you keep them physically safe and allow them to see your comfort in times of their greatest trial. Father, we ask that you give them the strength and the courage to defend the ideals that this country was founded on. Father, please impress upon our military leaders the wisdom needed to model and the ethics and the morality needed for this country to be seen as a beacon of those ideals. Father, we pray that those who serve feel your grace in times of conflict and understand that through your Son all things are forgiven. Father, we ask a special comfort for those who return with wounds to the flesh and to the mind. We see many who return with wounds that limit their physical abilities. We know that there are many who return home with wounds that cannot be seen with our eyes. Our prayer is that those who have been harmed in the protection of this country receive a special comfort of your Spirit. We ask that that same comfort be with the families of those who did not come home. Help them to know your grace and the sacrifice that their loved ones made, and help them to understand that that sacrifice is known and appreciated by all. Father, we ask that you continually remind the rest of us that our understanding and compassion is required to empathize with the things that we cannot personally understand. We know that it is through us that those who are hurting will see your kingdom. These men and women who have been bold in the protection of our country, let us be bold in their recognition. Father, also bless those who put this memorial together, and for all those who have volunteered in any way. It's in your Son's most holy name that we pray. Amen.
All right, y'all may be seated. Are you going to leave?
Color guard dismissed.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Bob Tillman. I am honored to be the president of the Sachse Historical Society. I appreciate the opportunity and honor to be that, and I appreciate so much everybody being here today. We weren't real sure what the weather's going to be like, whether it's going to be 60 degrees. Last Saturday when we started the Fall Fest, it was 36 degrees in the morning. It was 95, I think, one day this past week, so it was just sprinkling a little bit ago. But thank you guys very much for being here. This is a very special time for our organization, but it's a time that we want to honor our veterans. We want to make it a special time for that. We got 2 or 3 different special, extremely special events we're going to have here today. And we want to thank each one of you for being here. We thank you for the American Heritage Girls that did the color guard presentation. That was wonderful. Miss Iverson for doing the moving around applause. Bailey for singing the national anthem. Cindy also said. And Colin King, we appreciate the invocation, sir. God bless you for that. Our mayor, Mr. Felix, has had to a job requirement that has taken him away from our city, from our presentation today. In his place, we do have a proclamation from the city that our Councilman Charlie Rose would like to present. Mr. Rose, would you please come and take care of this for us?
Thank you, Bobby. As Bobby said, the mayor had an unbreakable engagement that he had to attend today. I know he really wanted to be here, really wanted to read this proclamation, but I'm pleased to be able to stand in for him and read this. Before I do, I just want to say that I'm very, very proud of our city. I'm very proud of the way it honors our veterans. And as an elected official, I know that I'm in the position I am in, and I'm able to participate in this fashion in governing our great city because of the sacrifices and the service of people like these veterans here today throughout the history of this country. So I just want to thank all of you on behalf of myself, on behalf of the city, for your service. So I have this proclamation. Whereas there is no greater honor than those who are and have served our country by being in the military. And whereas we remember all servicemen and women, along with their families, who have given their lives while serving in the military. And whereas Their contributions and sacrifices have been vital in maintaining the freedoms in our way of life enjoyed by the people of the United States and around the world. And whereas on Veterans Day we salute the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard who have rendered the highest service any American can offer. And whereas Veterans Day is celebrated and observed yearly around the world on November 11th, I therefore, Charlie Ross, on behalf of Mike Felix, Mayor of the City of Sachse, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2017 as Military Appreciation Day in the City of Sachse, and recognize the contributions of our service members have made to the cause of peace and freedom around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. This wasn't actually on the schedule, but I just noticed something. I see a World War II veteran. We're going to honor the Vietnam era veterans here with a special presentation. But how many of you guys out here are actually veterans? Would you stand, please? I'd like anyone that's an actual veteran from any war. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. That's an honor. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you, Charlie, for that. Appreciate that very much. One of the things that we've started doing, well, this is our 6th anniversary for the Historical Society to present this program. This, I believe, is the 5th anniversary. Where's Mr. Bob Sewell? Is this the 5th? This is the 5th year that Mr. Sewell, one of our one of our board members, has presented a special recognition to a family of a recently deceased member of our area. And Bob, if you'd come on up here, appreciate this opportunity to have this. Is a very nice thing, and he, Bob Sewell.
Thank you. I believe we have a member of Lloyd Henderson family here with us. Lane, thank you for coming. I've been doing this for a couple of years, actually longer, for friends and family that lose a veteran in the family. I present them with a special coin that I found, and I write a little letter to the family kind of explaining what I do and how I came on doing it, and also to honor the veteran. And without further words, I'll read the letter. To the family of Lloyd Hickman Henderson, I wanted to do something for you to honor your dad's military service and passing. My military service is very special to me, and following his little history of what I have been doing to honor my fellow veterans and their families. A couple of years back, my son gave me some coins that represented different points in my service time. When I went to the manufacturer's website, I found coins that represented the presentation of the folded burial flag to the family of a veteran who had just passed. I've been giving these coins to friends and family whenever they lose a family member ever since. Today I would like to honor your dad's military service and passing by presenting you with one of these coins. The front of the coin shows the folded burial flag being presented to the next of kin. On the reverse, I had your dad's name, year of birth, year of passing engraved. Also on this side is an inscription that reads as follows: for service to a grateful nation. Once a U.S. flag is lifted from the casket, it is tilted down in front of the casket to block the view. The flag is then held up for everyone to see, and taps is then played softly in the distance. This is referred to as presenting the colors. Tradition holds that at this time, the fighting spirit of the veteran then enters the flag. Once the flag is folded, both the flag and the veteran are formally retired forever. At this time, I would like to express my most sincere sympathy at your dad's passing. Without further ado, I will throw him a final salute and say farewell to a fellow veteran. With my deepest sympathies, Robert M. Soule, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, retired.
Thank you, Bob. That was a special, really special to our group here because Mr. Henderson, Lloyd Henderson, was one of the founding directors of our organization. He was faithful in the membership. He did everything just about imaginable. He was here in our July meeting. That was his last meeting he was able to attend. And he was declining a little bit at that time, and not long after that he didn't make it. But he was, we thank you for coming very much. Your family, your dad was a very special person to us. We appreciate that very much. Another thing that we have that we are able to do this year is, where is Mr. Ed? Mr. Brown? Ed Brown? We'd like to have Ed come forward and make a special presentation to the Vietnam era veterans here in our area.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to make a presentation here to the Vietnam veterans and the Vietnam era veterans, but let me give you some details about this program that was authorized by the United States Congress. In May 2012, the United States Congress authorized the formation of the United States of America Vietnam War Commemoration. This national commemoration was placed under the auspices of the Secretary of Defense. The national commemoration was authorized with the goal of recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War and the Vietnam veterans, both living and deceased, the prisoners of war, POWs, and the missing in action, MIAs, and their families. In addition, this group was to also recognize each living veteran who had served on active duty with the United States Armed Forces, regardless of their location, during the period of November 1st, 1955 to February 15th, 1975. To accomplish this task of recognizing nearly 9 million living Vietnam veterans and their families, the National Commemoration sought the assistance of veterans groups, service organizations like Lions Clubs and that, not-for-profit groups like the Sachse Historical Society, and others to serve as commemorative partners. The commemorative partners had the duty to conduct ceremonies in their local communities to honor and thank the military veterans and their families who had served during the Vietnam War and the period from 1955 to 1975. Today, on Veterans Day 2017, the Sachse Historical Society is very pleased and proud to honor the following veterans: Rich Baker, David Bynum, Don Bainham, Charles B. Eichelberger, David Mandela, James Mathis, and John Rohde. We will now present, on behalf of the Sachse Historical Society and the Vietnam Commemoration, certificates to each one of these individuals. The first one I'll present is to General Eichelberger, because it'll be easy so he don't have to come up here. United States Army. S-23, non-military, S-23 is the Chief of Security Plans and Operations, the 3rd Radio Research Unit, Republic of South Vietnam, and 62. Our next certificate will be to James Mathis. Would you come forward, please? James Mathis was a radioman first class, and he served in the United States Navy Advisory Group, Team 42, in Quy Nhon, Vietnam, from May 1969 to May 1971. Thank you, sir. We thank you for your service. The next certificate will be to Sergeant Don Bainham. Am I saying that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Sergeant Don Bainham, United States Air Force, Ton Son, Vietnam, December 1966 to December 1967. Thank you, sir, for your service. Our next honoree will be Specialist 5, David Bainham. Specialist 5 is a rank that don't exist anymore in the Army. They did away with it several years ago. But Specialist 5, David Bainham, United States Army, Long Binh, Vietnam, February 1968 to December 1968. Thank you, sir. John Rohde, please come forward. Corporal John Rohde, United States Marine Corps, Da Nang, Red Beach, Vietnam, June 1968 to June 1967 to June 1968. Thank you, sir, for your service.
Thank you.
Rich Baker. Rich Baker, First Lieutenant, United States Army Ordnance Corps, Continental United States, December 1st, 1965 through July 11th, 1969. We thank you for your service. David Mandala. Electronics Technician 2, David Mandala, United States Navy, October 1973 to September 1980, Continental United States. Thank you, sir. Before I close, we're going to do another one of these presentations in March when we have the annual meeting of the Sachse Historical Society. If you are a Vietnam veteran or you served during the period 1955 through 1975, we'd be very honored to present you with a certificate and the pin and everything else, the proclamation that goes with this ceremony. If you know a veteran who is deceased, a Vietnam veteran who is deceased, or is missing in action, we would be more than happy to recognize their family in a ceremony. I need to know that pretty quick because the certificates for those individuals, those family members, comes directly from Washington, D.C., and it's a special pin for each one of those classes, POWs, MIAs, deceased spouse. So please get in contact with us before you leave here today, or just call the Historical Society, because we would be very honored to recognize these military veterans in March. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, it's a special time for me to, those of us that were born in the 50s and 60s and we lived through the Vietnam era. I was in high school when it was in its winding down stages, and what I remember, my father was in World War II, he's buried out here. He was one of all the people before the Vietnam era that came home. They came home to parades, they came home to honors, they came home to all sorts of accolades. The guys from Vietnam, they came home and they were spit on, they were called terrible things. And that was wrong. That was wrong. And maybe we've kind of turned the corner several years ago. The Vietnam Wall, we had it here, the mobile wall, we had it at our city hall this summer. I think that kind of marked a time in history that we finally figured out those guys were not the enemy. They were the ones that needed to be praised. They didn't go there because they wanted to. I know a bunch of them. We have some family members that were on that wall, their names were. And maybe this kind of ceremony here, thanking you gentlemen for that service during that time. Long overdue, long overdue. Anyway, sorry about that. There's a little bit of diversion, which I'm known for on the program. Coming up, we do have a special speaker, and in order to to introduce him, we have one of our councilmen, Mr. Brett Franks. It's not Brent Franks as in the typos and these word corrector things, and it's Mr. Brett Franks. He served in the military, and I'd like for him to come and introduce our speaker. Thank you, Brett.
Our guest speaker today is a member of the Greatest Generation, World War II veteran, spent most of his time in Europe during that time, destroying the Axis forces, at least attempting to, ultimately being shot down, captured, prisoner of war. Mr. C.B. Perdue, a veteran of World War II in Germany, former prisoner of war, public affairs expert who served his country for more than 30 years, speaker, volunteer, farm boy, grandfather, member of the Greatest Generation. Mr. C.B. Perdue resides here in Dallas, actually in Rockwall, has great stories. I'm told he's an avid texter. As his daughter and granddaughter will attest. Please join me in honoring and welcoming Mr. C.B. Perdue.
Good morning. As Brett said, this is C.B. Perdue. In my lifetime, I've been a lot of things. A father, a gunner on a B-17, a chief master sergeant in the Air Force, a prisoner of war. And now I'm retired and mostly a gardener and a baker. They like to say that about me. There are a lot of stories I can tell you about my life, but there's one that sticks out as most harrowing. It's the kind of story they make movies about. All of us veterans have stories, but very few veterans want to talk about them. I've found it pretty comforting to be able to talk about my experiences. I'm going to tell you about my 25th bombing mission over Germany. The date was April 7, 1945. But first I should tell you that I was raised on a farm in South Arkansas, worked hard on the farm with my brothers and sisters, and like a lot of other kids my age in small towns. I graduated from high school on June 4, 1943, and was drafted in the Army 30 days later. My training prepared me to be an armament gunner on a B-17 bomber. I was assigned to a B-17 bomb group based in England. My position on the crew was the bombardier position in the nose of the aircraft, meaning that I flew just underneath the flight deck in a large glass bubble, in other words, the nose of the plane. And I dropped the bombs over enemy territory. About 4 a.m. April 7, our crew was awakened to get ready for the mission. Go eat breakfast, and then on to mission briefing. In the briefing, we were told in detail about the mission. The briefer said it was a milk run. That was a description of an easy mission back in those days. There was an expression used to describe the mission. We learned better later in the day. After mission briefing, all the crew went out to the aircraft. Each crew member checked the position out, bombs, engine, radio, guns, navigation. I was flying with a different crew that day than I normally did. And then the pilots started the engines about 6 a.m. We taxied out to line up for takeoff. As each plane took off, they circled the base until they caught up with the formation. And then the 12-ship formation crossed the English Channel and headed to a checkpoint in Germany, and then turned north toward our target, a German airfield at Kaltenkirchen. north of Hamburg. Along the way, German and air defense had anti-aircraft gun batteries set up. The formation leader had to guide the group around those batteries to keep from getting hit by exploding 88 millimeter shells. The mission was going pretty smooth. No flak from the anti-aircraft guns, although the sky was filled with black smoke from exploding shells. Looked like you could get out and walk on it. The formation had climbed to 18,000 feet altitude. We were south of Hamburg, near a little town called Lüneburg. Chatter by the crew on the intercom was quiet, and I had gone back to the bomb bay to check on the bomb load, getting ready for the target. Back in my position, I looked down below the air formation and saw a German Me-109 fighter. I trained my nose turret guns on him and fired several rounds before he was out of my sight. Shortly after seeing the German fighter, all of a sudden our plane was hit somewhere near the tail wheel. I felt a jolt, kind of like that. The pilot gave the engine more power, and the nose lifted up and started turning to the left. It wasn't time for a bailout order, but we knew we had to get out of the plane. The navigator had his parachute on, was trying to open the escape hatch up in the nose of the plane. And I had put my parachute on and told the navigator, he was having trouble opening the door. I told the navigator to let me try, and I yanked on the hinge pin handle, and the door flew off. The navigator bailed out first, and I was second. I don't know to this day how I got through that door with all the flight gear on, but I did. As soon as I cleared the plane, I pulled my ripcord, my first ever parachute jump. The canopy opened, which was good to see. And as I floated down, an American P-51 fighter plane circled me 2 times. The Germans were noted for strafing a flyer while floating down, meaning they would shoot you out of the sky. With his protection, I was able to make it down without being shot. About 200 feet from the ground, I would see people along some trees down below. I landed in an open field, injuring my right knee. One German soldier took me captive. I had a weapon, a shoulder holster with a 45 caliber pistol, and he took my weapon, but I didn't dare try to use it anyway. A group of Hitler Youth, the boys about 15 years of age, rushed in and started beating up on me. The German soldier got them off, thankfully. The soldier in broken English asked me how old I was, and I told him, and he said he was the same age. We were both 20 years old. Maybe he spared me because of that. He very well could have shot me. The soldier marched me to a jail on a nearby airfield, not our target, where I was locked up along with other members of our crew. Each of us had individual cells. There were 9 crew members on the plane. 5 of us got out, and 4 probably went down with the plane. I know 2 did, particularly the tail gunner and the ball turret gunner. The others, I don't know why they didn't make it out. Later in the evening, we were offered some coffee. I was very thirsty because I hadn't had anything to drink all day, but I didn't drink coffee. I drank some then, tasted terrible, not exactly Starbucks. While I was in the jail, I put a map, a compass, and a hacksaw blade from my escape kit in the lining of my flight jacket. We were put on a train to Stalag Luft 1 at Barth, Germany, near the Baltic Sea, which was a camp where the Germans kept a lot of the prisoners. About halfway there, we were moved to a passenger car, and we were moved to a passenger car, and on the way to Stalag 1, I decided to take the map, compass, and hacksaw blade out of my jacket for fear that if the Germans found them, I'd be punished severely. When the guards weren't looking, I threw them out the window. When we arrived at Stalag Luft 1, the German guard took all of our clothing and shoes. We were given American military fatigue uniforms that had been brought in by the International Red Cross. They also gave us a used toothbrush and a little piece of soap. The prison barracks were full, so the Germans paired each of us with another POW, giving us a blanket and a piece of cardboard, and putting us in an old dining hall where we slept on the floor. We put a piece of cardboard down and covered it with a blanket, and then we slept together with our clothes on, and pulled the other blanket up over us. It was very cold up in that part of the country in April. Stalag Luft 1 had a population of about 10,000 POWs. They issued identification tags to each POW. I've still got mine. Let me get them out here and show you. That's what they look like. My number was 8218. I still have these tags, as you see. The jacket you see here, I think over there, was my flight jacket. This is what I was wearing when the day got shot down on our mission. The Germans painted the USA on it for identification as an American prisoner. I never got to wear it while I was in the camp, but it was given to me when I was leaving camp. I never thought I'd see it again, but I've got it. You may have seen pictures or movies on shows or on TV about being in a prisoner of war camp. Let me tell you, it's not a fancy hotel, and it's not a fun thing to have to do. The prison camp was arranged in compounds with a tall fence. Each compound had guard towers all around the corners and towers placed along the fence, and there were warning wires about 10 feet from the fence and 2 feet high. If you stepped over that wire, the guards could shoot you. I don't know if anybody ever got shot, but that was there for the warning. We were not allowed out of our buildings at night. There wasn't much food, and I have to tell you, I do like to eat. While I was there, the Germans gave us boiled potatoes 2 times, stew once, and I don't know what kind of meat was in it, and cooked a cereal that looked like barley. We received a piece of black bread, it was called, about 2 inches thick once a week. If it was sliced thin, you could eat it. And there are many things you'll eat if you're hungry enough. I obtained a recipe for this black bread after the war. The ingredients consisted of sugar beets, tree leaves, and sawdust, among other things. I don't know what the other things were. Fortunately, the International Red Cross had brought in food parcels from USA. They were intended for 1 person per parcel per week. However, the Germans rationed them to one box for 2 people. The Boxes contain canned meat, crackers, jelly, canned fish, chocolate candy bar, cigarettes, and several other edible things. I didn't smoke, so I traded my cigarettes for the candy bars that other guys had. It was a semi-sweet chocolate, and I still like semi-sweet chocolate to this day. It was good. One night in early May of 1945, we went to bed and woke up to see the guard towers empty. The guards had left overnight for the American and British lines. The Russians were coming the next day to liberate the POW camp. The Russians wanted to march POWs to Odessa, and that's not Texas now, but it's Odessa in Russia. I learned later that POWs that were marched there early in the war were never heard from after that. Thankfully, our senior American POW officers arranged for B-17s from 8th Air Force to fly to Barth Airfield and load about 20 PWs on one plane. And then it flew us back to France, near Le Havre. At a camp there had been set up to process us back into the military. They considered the POW out of the military then, so they had to process us back in. After we're processed back in, I boarded a U.S. Navy ship bound for New York, and from there we were put on trains to Fort Smith, Arkansas, for me. I took a bus from Fort Smith to El Dorado, which is the other side of the state. It was good to be home, but it wasn't the homecoming you might think it was. Ticker tip parades, soldiers kissing parade nurses and all that. No, it was pretty quiet. Lots and lots of people went to war, and not many talked about it when they got home. I didn't, anyway. And I didn't talk about it for years, like most other veterans that came home. So many of us veterans, you are some of the first generation to recognize our service and to say thank you. I want to tell you that means the world to guys like me. Of the 16 million people in World War II, there are only, last count, which was recently, only 558,000 living veterans remaining. After the war, I decided to stay in the military and retired in 1973 from the U.S. Air Force after 30 years. And you've heard about my experience as a prisoner of war, or POW, but there's another title that goes with that also, and it's always POW/MIA. MIA is missing in action. Many are still missing in actions, and they have been searched for. Some have been found. Most probably never will be, but we shouldn't forget it. I'd like to leave you with a thought from another POW who I think expresses it well. David Everett, a POW in the Persian Gulf War, said this: freedom, it doesn't matter if you've lost it for 5 minutes, 5 years, or 50 years. We have an appreciation that other people will never understand. Let me tell you, that's a true statement. On this Veterans Day, I want to thank you for honoring people like me who chose to defend our country and freedom for all. My wish for you is that you will enjoy your freedom the rest of your life and always be willing to stand up for others who have lost their freedom. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
That was interesting. That's an honor. We're going to be closing our ceremonies here in just a moment. Before I do, I want to make a special, I just want to thank a few folks real quickly. Some of you got on the brochure here, you can read real easily. Zach Gray, he took care of our opening ceremony, ringing the bell, appreciate that. American Heritage Girls from Plano, the young ladies that did the coloring card presentation, that was great. We thank you very much for that. Miss Cindy, thank you for leading us in the pledge. The Star Spangled Banner, Miss Bailey Iverson, is she here? Miss Bailey, she always does a superb job. There you go, up there. Invocation, Mr. Cullen King, thank you for that, sir. And standing in for our mayor, Mr. Ross, Charlie Ross, I appreciate the councilman doing that. And the introduction of our speaker, Mr. Brett Franks, he's also a military person. The Sachse Historical Society, our group. How many of you guys are here? Can you stand or wave your hand or something like that? All right. There's several of you guys here. I want to appreciate each one of those. And where is Mrs. Dinah Smith? Mrs. Dinah Smith. She's over there. She's trying to kind of hide in the background, but she's the one. She is the event chairman for this group this year, and she did a superb job as usual. Thank you, Dinah. Appreciate that very much. And our city helped with the setup, everything, loaned us a sound system, and as true to form, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he's helping. There he is. I loaned him my camera. I asked, would you like to take pictures? So he's taking pictures, and I thank you very much for that, sir. A special thank you to, I keep using the word special. There's a lot of special going on here. Where's our Whiskers group? Where's our, all right, the gentleman, now you might notice they have a little beard, which is cool. They're kind of trying to take up the Duck Dynasty group, I think. These guys are something else. We had, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, our group sponsored the Vietnam Wall Memorial, the movie, when they came to town. It was at the City Hall. Well, part of the requirements that we had to make in order to have that here is it had to be secured all the 24 hours a day. Well, there's not too many people like to do that in the middle of the night, but these guys loved it. They were here every night, faithfully. They guarded that every night, and we appreciate that. And you like these flags coming in? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? That is something that they provided for us, too. So thank you, guys. This is great. And Miss Kimberly Sauer, she is a professional photographer. She's making sure that we get some really good pictures of things. Where did you go, Kimberly? I know you're somewhere else here. She's taking pictures. Oh, there she is. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for donating your time on this. And my son, my grandson, are taking pictures and video. Thank you, Brian, Braden, Logan, all the crew. You're always very helpful when I ask. Let's see here. What am I fixing to forget? We're fixing to close the ceremony. We'd like for you to stay here, visit with your friends, take pictures, whatever you'd like to do. We will be posting the pictures on the SachseHistoricalSociety.com website. We will take hundreds and hundreds of pictures. The video will be edited and put online here shortly. Come inside the museum and look around. There's some really neat stuff in there. There's people that have all sorts of displays here, pictures, memorabilia from their time in the service. Look at these weapons over these guns. Now we're going to get to see a special, and I use the word special again, a gun salute here in just a little bit, and that's an amazing deal. They have those guns on display over there, and there are some things inside that you could see. We have stuff set up there regularly that you're welcome to come by and see, but there's also some things in here just for this event. We'd like for you guys to come in and look that over. Closing portion of our ceremony right now will be, according to military protocol, and there won't be anything said after this, the 32nd Infantry, 9th Infantry Texas Division, and Texas Infantry will be doing the gun salute, and then Larry Quave, which is the retired captain of the USMC, will be doing taps, and he has been very faithful to do that to the past, I think ever since we've had this year, almost ever since we've had our event here. But we want to thank each one of you for coming. It's really an honor for you guys to come here. And we honor you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. blessing. Thank you very much.